Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digital,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digital TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Okay, good morning, our viewers. My name is Norman Tumhimbise. We are with Justice Kanyeihamba in his episodes where he offers time to lecture the world about constitutionalism and definitely the rule of law and good governance. In particular, he offered to break down this entire constitution of 1995, where he was very key in its making, and he hasn't relented. He's still on the cause of ensuring that this constitution be respected. We are streaming live on our Facebook page, The Alternative Uganda, and also Dig Talk TV, and later on the show will be on our YouTube channel, The Alternative Uganda, as well. Justice Kanyeihamba, please say hello to our viewers and then sign in.
Good morning, viewers, and I hope you have a happy day and you had a nice weekend. Thank you.
Please, thanks a lot. Previously, we were still tackling the preamble and what came out for us as a generation. Definitely, we were on to the fundamental and other human rights and freedoms. And before we left, Justice Kanyeihamba said there were some bit of discussions on what he meant, because he said he was an advocate of other rights and freedoms. And we want to find out from you, what was it about that you... So are there some rights which are more rights than others? Because
Yeah, that's the point. We had a very lively and heated debate in the Constituent Assembly as to whether all rights are not fundamental. I remember people like Omar Otubo and Semogedede contributed to this debate. They were of the view that all rights, no matter what they are fundamental. I, on the other hand, and others of similar view of mine, argued that no, fundamental rights must be distinguished from other rights
and freedoms,
which are not so fundamental. And what did I mean? Fundamental rights are like the right to life, the right to health, the right to form political parties, the right to free speech, and the right of assembly.
those are fundamental.
Those are fundamental rights. But the right to get employment,
That isn't fundamental.
it can't be fundamental. The right to be rich should be fundamental, but it is not. Because not all of us are
Meant
rich,
to be rich.
or not all of us have got opportunities. The government, even of the United States and America, who are rich countries, cannot employ everybody. So if it was fundamental, very wealthy and highly advanced countries like the United States, like Britain, France, Canada, and especially Russia, which not only is rich, but also seems to say everybody is equal before the law. They should be employing everybody, they don't. Maybe I can illustrate like this, the difference by citing my debate with an American ambassador to Uganda, not the current one. Current one is a very charming young lady. That was a man. When I argued with him, he was of the view also, like the other delegates, that all rights were fundamental and inalienable. So I gave him a test. I said, the right to vote is inalienable. But supposing somebody is injured on a motorbike, very bad, he's bleeding, when he was going to the voting booth, would you first let him vote?
Or rather go to hospital.
You would rush him to hospital first and he can vote later if he's capable. That American was, I don't think he was lying, but he was a very humorous. He said, since in my opinion, the right not to be injured and the right to vote are fundamental and equal, I would first take him to vote.
Before it was hospital.
And everybody laughed who was listening to us. Of course, he was joking. He knew when the right to life is injured, the right to life is more important than the right to vote, and therefore you must take him to hospital first. That is a very good illustration of the fundamental difference between, rather, the difference between fundamental rights and other rights.
Okay, if I may ask, does that mean that in the execution or protection of either or of these rights, some rights should be given specific consideration?
Definitely.
Vis-a-vis others?
If you know that somebody is very badly injured or is suffering, the right to be taken to hospital, this fundamental right, prevails over the right to vote. It's as simple as that.
One will argue that voting happens once after 5 years, so most likely they would consider voting and then consider going to hospital later on, because
if you take him to hospital, the patient may recover. If you instead wait and take him to vote, he will certainly die. Which
and they will not vote forever.
Yes.
So miss one
and they will never vote forever. So it is better to miss one vote and leave to vote another time than to be taken to the voting booth where you die and you will never vote again. You have to make that choice.
So that is how you won the hearts of those that had wanted all of them
yes,
to be...
They even gave up. When we made that argument, they said, I think we are making sense. So that's why we all agreed. Remember, our constitution was agreed unanimously. Nobody ever put a hand against any provision. So that's why we were unanimous that we should insert in our constitution fundamental freedoms and rights and other rights.
There has been a talk, before we now go to another national objective here, that there are some ideas and proposals that either you people or another committee smuggled out of the constitution and they are never considered. Have you heard
I
that?
know one provision which only two of us smuggled in the constitution. After, there are three
Three that
that were
You smuggled.
smuggled in the constitution after the CA had been dissolved. When this chairperson of the Constituent Assembly, James Wakabulu,
Wakaburu.
who, if he had lived, I believe, he would already have succeeded Museveni, because he was a popular man, very intelligent, wise, and weighed in his views. God deprived him of us, so we can't say much. Having said that,
You smuggled two provisions. What
We
were those?
we finished the constitution. The committee which was supposed to scrutinize that everything is right, which included the people like Hope Mwesije, among others, Noble Mayombo, we had to finish our work. I was their chairman. I was not only the chairman of the
Legal and Draft
yes,
Committee.
but when we finished, I was also the chairman of the scrutinizing committee to make that we hadn't left anything else. So when we left, then there were four things smuggled in the constitution. One was the fountain of honor. The president being called the fountain of honor. Purposely not to give him any power, but simply to exercise the prerogative of mercy for people who had been convicted of crimes. That was the only reason for it there. And that one was smuggled in my Honorable Stephen Kavuma, who was the Minister of Constitutional Making, and I, the Chairman of the Legal and Drafting Committee. When we finished, Honorable Kavuma ran to me. When we finished, he said, we have put in the Constitution that the country will be able to give honors like the Spear of the Nile, the Hero of Kabumba, all that we shall award such awards. So he said, Professor, we forgot to debate who is to give those honors. We had already ended saying the President of Uganda shall be the commanding chief of the armed forces, head of government, and also will exercise the sovereignty power of the Uganda. So I am the one answering Kavuma's question. After CA had been resolved, that let us also call him the Fountain of Honor for the purpose of awarding rewards and awards. That was the origin of that smuggled thing.
The second
If
one?
you ask and they are honest, all the other delegates in CA didn't know about it.
The second one that you smuggled in, you people.
The second one we smuggled in was by Honorable Kavuma. When we had adjourned, he said, we said to be an MP, you must have been done and seated at A level. You must be hold of A level. But he and Mbabazi, yes, and presumably the president, were of the view that anybody should be a member of parliament.
No matter the
No matter,
qualifications
yes. And I tell you the consequence of that. So Kavuma came to me. And what he proposed was, he said, there are people who have got equivalent of A level,
Not necessarily an A level.
Yes.
This time around,
Yes.
an equivalent.
Yes. So why don't we say, add the words,
A level
A level
Or
or equivalent?
And that has caused trouble because even apparently people wonder, how do you measure? People have made
That
it,
has been the problem. We made a mistake.
people have made it sarcastic.
And I am glad that in this current parliament, they are debating that MP should
even have
be
a bachelor's
awarded
degree.
a degree. Because when that happened, people who had no degree at all, even no A level, went to various dubious courses.
To get equivalent.
I remember one MP who was not qualified. He went to Nairobi for 3 weeks, apparently studying marine insurance. And they awarded him equivalent of A level, and he came and qualified. There were many people in CA, because we had expanded it, who didn't have even the equivalent of A level. I remember debating with one in my own constituency, Rwanda, a doctor now deceased, who was making a lot of uninteresting, unpolitical statements everywhere. And I defeated him easily. He was my opponent. But one of the things he said was, you know, we were 6 candidates in Rwanda East. And there were people like the late Rwendeye, the late Dr. Balebgoha, he's the one who asked this question I'm going to ask you, and others. So we would go to one part of our constituency, and then there would be a pool where you pick a paper from number 1 to 6. And whoever got to the first one, you would speak first. If you go to the second, speak second, so on until 6. At our first meeting, which was in Nangara, in East Rwanda, Dr. Balebgoha picked number 1. Therefore, he was entitled to speak number 1. And then he made a blunder. He says, as you can see, I have picked number 1. I'm going to speak number 1. This is an indication that I will be number 1 in this election in Rwanda. I noted that. So he's finished speaking. His people stood up and clapped very hard that you are now an MP. So we went to the next one, called the Kanyeihamba. I've never forgotten. But I mentioned at that meeting, the first one, that we have heard that the doctor has said he will be the first in the election because he got number 1 in our reshuffle. I wanted to promise the whole people. You told me he's very honest. Yeah! He's a very man of integrity. Yeah! When I want to tell you now, before we go tomorrow to Kanyeihamba, that whatever number he gets at Kanyeihamba, he will be number that in this election. His people booed me, mine clapped. So we went to yes, even this following day we went to Kanyeihamba, and we go to our we did our rule to see who speaks first. That's right. And would you believe it? God works in mysterious way. Dr. Balebgoha got number 6. He was the last. I think I got number 4. So others spoke when it came to me. I said, I want to remind you that yesterday Dr. Balebgoha said he will be number 1 because in our guru who speaks first or second, he got number 1. Until now he has got number 6. I want him to be honest. He's a doctor of integrity to say he will be the last in this election. In this election. His people put me like nobody. And then Balibwa said, Professor Kanyeihamba, as usual, is talking rubbish. Which that is a contradiction. How can a professor talk rubbish if he's genuine? However, as it is, everybody and the other candidates, we are 6, clapped me. So he went on making blunders, which are going. Now, after the last meeting, that was his clan people, first-hand clan. So when he reached, he made another blunder. He said, now my clan, they are called Bahimba, I am the candidate you should vote for. I ask all Bahimba, whether children, girls, or to vote for me. I am the one to represent you in CA. I think I'm going to write a sad edition of In the Part of Africa, everything happens. So I was talking second on that area. It was our constituency because it was from my area. So I said, you have heard what my brother has said, that only his clanmen
Should
vote for him. In that case, he doesn't want any other clans or their relatives to vote for him. And therefore, I beg everybody else in Rwanda to vote for me, whether they are his the other clans or whatever, because it is difficult in Uganda to find a community which is homogeneous. Often we are all mixed up, and I knew in Rwanda there were other clans. Our girls were married to his clan. So do you know what happened? After the election, apart from other reasons, I wanted that parish more than anybody else. And his mother was another clan, not Vahimba, because in Shiga, in Nyachitara culture, you don't marry people who are related to you in your clan. So they asked the mother, whom did you vote for? He said, of course I voted for Professor Kanyeihamba, because my son said he doesn't want our vote. Felix is a very, very funny game. Okay. So that is what happened. But he was a doctor, so he was not one of those
who had an equivalent.
Kavuma Smagordin and Mbabas. The other era, I think I mentioned it. What was it? The other thing which was Smagordin.
You Smagordin, the Fountain of Honor. Now we're on the second Smago.
The
so
second
now what
is equivalent to
Elevo, yeah.
By Smagordin by both Mbabazi
and Justice Kavuma.
And the Kavuma.
The third
it
one?
Was they were never debated. What we put there was A level, but the Kavuma and the Mbabazi put their equivalent.
Okay.
Now
the third one?
I mentioned the third.
No, you mentioned Fountain of Honor. I mentioned the equivalent of A level.
Okay, right.
So you smuggled in only 2 provisions?
No, there was CD, but I forgot to use that. I may remember it.
Let me ask you something before we tackle this, these other concerns in the preamble. What did you make of the campaigns then and today? That at that time, you would all of you be on the same platform in the campaign. Apparently, the law was amended, so each one of you moves to another parish or another district if it's presidency. Don't you think the previous way of doing things was more or less harmonious enough to unite people than how it is now?
I think it was, and it was transparent. You were all speaking together,
addressing the same audience
on the same subject, so people would judge who is the best candidate.
No blackmail in your
no blackmail, nothing. So really, I think that's a previous one of where the candidates campaign together and reveal themselves to people was preferable to today. Let me tell you, even that one, there were also defects. One of them, two of us, I was a Protestant and he was a Catholic. But we were both movement, very strong movement people. For me, wherever I go, I said, if you don't vote for me, vote for Mr. X. That fellow candidate, we are both NRM. But whenever he went to his religious meeting to worship, he said, I am the right candidate. You can see even Kanyeihamba is supporting me. So it has also its own
defaults.
Yes, really.
Okay, our viewers, we are with Justice Kanyeihamba. He never ceases to be to amaze us, especially when he gets the flashbacks of back in the days. That's 1993. Also, when you people were in CA. Back to the preamble. There is where they say, okay, we want to talk about the gender balance and fair representation of marginalized groups. In particular here, I want to talk about the affirmative action, which you people put in the Constitution. Definitely, you had been convinced that women had been thrown away.
That's right.
But I have watched some clip where Amin was appointing ladies and he said, women, if they can take care of their homes, they can also take care of hotels. So they should, he began appointing one of them being a manager of that time Nile Hotel.
Yes.
And that video, has been circulating. Is it something you were cheering, or there had been efforts to ensure that women come on board? Because the dictator you fought, that is Amin, had already shown an example that he can appoint female to lead some.
Just appointing after the discretion of the president is not enough. Those of us who support the full rights of women to be equal without any condition to men, what we put in the Constitution was correct, but it was also misunderstood.
That's why I want to discuss that.
The misunderstanding was that some women and other politicians thought it was a reward for women. And they needed to pay for that position. The story went around that it was Museveni who benefited the women. Even today, that feeling is there, that he favors women. So Museveni was credited and is credited by other men for insisting on women being preferred, rather
represented,
given preference in the electoral system. But that is not true. For most of us in CA, we are motivated by the knowledge that women have been
marginalized.
Yes.
And underrepresented.
Yes, and are underrepresented everywhere. We wanted them. If you could see my introductory remarks in Parliament, rather in CA, that the equalization of women to men is fundamental and necessary if we are to grow like other nations where women are equal to men. I even cited them the statement of the English law, which still existed until 1934. where there was a saying that a married man and his wife are equal, are one person, they are equal, but he is that man, is that person. And it was ridiculous because no woman could have any contract or buy anything without the consent of her husband, or her showing that her husband has no objection. We knew that, and we wanted that to be abolished in Uganda forever. So, having said that, there was a misconception. I remember that the gallant delegates, Kanyeihamba, who was the second, there was another soldier, and the late Serwangalwanga, and I believe Eli Tumini objected to simply saying about the is it equal opportunity?
The affirmative action,
Affirmative
and gender
action.
balance.
That it should be once. They should have it 2 terms. And when they finish, they should compete for citizen as like any other representative. We rejected their proposal, which in retrospect I think was an excellent one. Because if you see what has happened since affirmative action,
People who are working
only a few women,
have left
the
that.
Kadagas of this world, the serial girl, where the affirmative action allowed them to be there in the 2006
More or less
election
forever. No.
are still there. The idea of affirmative action was
The likes
if
of
you had
Kanyeihamba
the
Kawoya,
only 2 terms,
you are
which
able
the
to.
Kanyeihamba insisted on, then she would have 2 terms, then replace it with another woman, then 2 terms another one,
yeah.
then 2 terms, and therefore
You-
this would
You have empowered
spread
many.
affirmative action to more women than just 1 or 2. But that, the way
been abused.
President Museveni continued appointing ministers, some of them stayed there for a long, long time. And I don't have to name them here, you know them.
I will hope.
Therefore,
there's
I
some-
think, in my opinion,
it's something
the
that
principle of affirmative action
abuse
and
it.
its consequences were totally misconceived by the way we govern the country.
Would you advise and or advocate for an amendment of this particular
I
provision
certainly would.
so that it's
So
not
that
clear?
it is made
Yeah,
clear.
2 times you
Yes,
elevate.
that after 2 terms, a woman should give away to another woman and so forth. The principle of having a third or whatever
Times.
principle of women in everyday count, rather than everyday body, elective body, should be maintained.
But the
But
term in office should be.
the principle that a woman, whenever she wins, she stays there for more than 1 term, that should be abolished.
Well, on the same regards to affirmative action and definitely the marginalized, as they call them, young people, it's no doubt that they are the majority in this country, in fact in the whole world. So we find a youth MP, Uganda, I want to believe they have 5 or so. Isn't it some way of hoodwinking young people to concentrate on youth MPship than rather fighting for a bigger chunk of governance, for lack of another word?
I think what I have said regarding women, only 2 terms, should apply. People like
Youth MP goes for
the
1 term.
current Speaker of Parliament and her deputy, should apply. Should also only have 2 terms, not more than
Not
that.
more than. So your view is that every elective position should carry 2 terms,
I think so.
even parliamentarians.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Viewers, we are with Justice Kanyeihamba. We're trying to dig deeper into this constitution so that we can have it understood. And as we continue praying that maybe someday it will be translated into other languages if it's the will of the government. There is this provision of adequate resource.
No, it is not the will of the government. It is a constitution compelling
But is it
reason that the parliament should do it. So parliament is failing in its duty today.
to have the constitution translated into other languages?
That's why.
There is
Other local languages. We are not obliged to translate our constitution
Into a
into French
foreign-
or
should
German,
be
but
local
in
languages.
Rutoro, Luo, and Uganda. There are versions which are very poor. For example, the one somebody interpreted for the Western region in Ruchiga Runyankole is full of mistakes, misconceptions. It seems it was not guided by a lawyer. And I don't recommend
people
the
to
people of the West to read or use any of them. They are misleading. They are very poor version. The reason we impose this responsibility of translating the constitution
Into local
in all government, in all
Local
regions to the government, is that they would be able to entrust the responsibility to competent, knowledgeable, legal minds.
because
By the
every
way,
region
let me
has
tell you,
lawyers literally.
apart from appearing in court against certain individuals in the government has never even asked me one question. You were the chairman of the Legal and Drafting Committee. What did you mean by that? Never. The government, therefore, is afraid of the truth of
Of
what
having its
our
document.
provisions in the Constitution mean.
Okay. We have 4 minutes to go to a break, but I want you to clear this. There is protection of the aged. I want to ask you, do you think it's being observed, especially now? I know there is Elders Forum and like that. Is it relevant? Is it effective? How are you being managed as the aged? Because it's here.
I
I have
asked
a second, Justice. I have seen a person I know that you know, that is Professor Afuna Dula. Professor
Yes.
Afuna Dula from Busoga,
Yes.
from Jinja or something. He posted something, a very lengthy document on Facebook, complaining about his pension. You know, he had been a lecturer at Makerere University and more or less up to now. So I think this now connects to the aged. Are you people being protected?
I am getting my pension.
You're 1 in a million, maybe because you are.
I'm getting my pension only, but in all other respects, I have been helped only once by senior presidential advisor Joanna Kategaya, who is my friend only through her husband, the late Elia Kategaya. Somebody wants to take my land, a foreigner, and I reported to her, and he discovered that indeed the man was fraudulent. He wanted to take my land fraudulently, and he helped me to move him. Currently, the same man, so he had taken my land. Joanna Kategaya actually went there and chucked him out, evicted him. Then man is very enterprising. He felt complexes of blocks of flats. Entebbe Road was built by part of my son from my land, which he negotiated. Then he benefited from that project himself. He's an Eritrean, and he, in exchange, he actually bought my sand and my rocks, 3 acres, out of which he built me. He was offering me a block of flats, a flat of block, a block of flats in Bwebaji. I said, I want to be on my own. Then he got better money for that block, and a man called Agule Manzi, and with his wife Penate, advised that he should build me a separate block, which he did very well as a part of the payment for the sand. I told him I want to be an independent Prof. I look after my tenant myself in every way. Only 2 days ago I discovered he has been harassing those tenants, saying the block is a part of his ownership, and that he has been charging them 80,000, without my knowledge, 80,000 shillings for security.
So
I have never known about this. When I went to see him at his office, he ran away from me. He's a man called Usasu.
okay,
And I'm going to write a story in the story.
About-
If he doesn't, I have asked him to refund all that money he has been taking. I will be citing Mrs. Agude Manzi, who advised that you built him one, which is separate, since for him he doesn't want to be part of consortium. I have never met those people who control that system, but he's privately been charging my tenants. I only discovered yesterday 80 shillings per month
person per
for
month.
security, and they're threatening them.
okay, I will.
And he's a foreigner. How can the government of Uganda allow foreigners to harass Ugandans and overcharge them?
Okay, our viewers, we are breaking for a minute or two, and then come back. We tackle the provision, the provision of adequate resources for organs of government, and definitely the right to development. We're still in the preamble, so that we see what inspired them to come up with such preamble.
That's a good one.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digital.
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Okay, our viewers, welcome back. We're still with Justice Kanyeihamba and streaming live on our social media handles. That's the Alternative Uganda Facebook page and also Digitalk TV. And definitely after here, the show will be also on YouTube, the Alternative Uganda. We are still with Justice Kanyeihamba breaking down his entire constitution, where he was a lead legal mind because he was the chairperson, legal and drafts committee. So remember, the constitution is purely legal. There is nothing like engineering, SWASA, education. No, it's purely legal. So we want to go back to the preamble. There is this one here where you people said protection of the aged, we are more or less done. There is provision of adequate resources for organs of government. But in particular, let me read through. It's just one paragraph. The distribution of powers and functions as well as checks and balances provide for the constitution among various organs and institutions of government shall be supported through the provision of adequate resources for their effective functioning at all levels.
2 days ago, both the New Vision and the Monitor published very disturbing news. It said that we are so much over indebted to other countries
Each one of us has to pay 1.8
that
million.
every person in Uganda owes the world 1.8 million shillings. I can tell you that the overwhelming majority in my area, Rwanda district in Kabale, have never even got $500,000. The other day, I shocked a group of younger people. I say, "Do you know that you owe 1.8 million? You, each of you, not Uganda,
Not your landlord, not institution.
Yes, they
you
were
must pay
shocked.
to.
Yes, they were shocked. So what you are saying, obviously, all these works, including what we are doing today, in enlightening people about our constitution, needs money. And in fact, I am going to appeal on your behalf. You have volunteered to do this program on behalf of the government because the government has failed to do so, but you are such a committed citizen that you say, since the government has been silent on translating and substituting the meaning of our constitution, let me do it. So really, I hope that the relevant ministers and the big people, including the Minister of Finance, is listening to me. They should facilitate this program where, while I am still going strong mentally, vocally, and otherwise, you have persuaded me to volunteer doing what the government should be doing. And they should facilitate you in this program. So I hope that the Minister of Finance, Kasaija, will spare some of the money he receives from donations, wherever the source is, to donate to this program, because he's in constitutional law, he should be the one in charge of it and should be the one financing it. So having said that, it is really unbelievable that the government of today, of Uganda, which is so indebted should be paying endowments to so many people, police, the army, and the public servant, colossal sums of money, knowing it is indebted to the world. That's number one. Number two, only 2 days ago again, it was reported in the Monitor and the Sunday and the Monitor and the
New Vision.
New Vision that the government has recruited over 1,000 teachers and instructors in educational institutions. But the same paper has reported that teachers have not been paid for the last 3 months. How are we running this country? I think I leave it with that sad laughter.
Okay. There is the right to development. In order to facilitate rapid and equitable development, the state shall encourage private initiative and self-reliance. Do we have balanced development in this country? Because some people have said your road, you know that road that heads from Busega to the far western, that's where these big vehicles really head. And other roads have, relatively fair vehicles. So it's Uganda balanced.
We don't have equal development in this country. The most favored countries of the Western region have seemed to attain a lion's share. And at one time, when we had just come to power, said all Pajeros end up in the Western region, which was not entirely true.
Well, some might cross from Busega and they stop in Masaka, and people will think they have gone to Western region.
Once you pass Kampala to west, actually, rather to going west from Kampala, every story, every lie, every exaggeration is you are going to Mbarara and the Kabale. And having said that,
what brings about such imbalances?
the development in Uganda has been a slow process. In fact, we have done much better on making roads. But most of those roads, I'm afraid, seem to go west, which is a touch of nepotism. They are now doing the Ginger Road. I'm told the Mbale Soroti Road is on the way. But today, sadly, you had the lives we lost because of lack of development. There is one road which is connecting two important stations north of Kampala, where floods have killed people. People are separated from their ones and houses, and there is no answer because the road is Maram. In the west, we have done very well. But if you see the people who are in charge of development are mainly from the west. Until recently, the Prime Minister, the Army Commander, the President,
Vice President,
and the Minister of Finance, the Permanent Secretary of Finance, the Deputy Minister of Finance, they all came from the West. Or they come.
They come from.
And you can guess there is a bit of selfishness in how they distribute
World
the
and
wealth of
development.
this country.
Okay. There is the role of the people in development, and you went ahead, you people, to say that the state shall take all necessary steps to involve people in the formation and implementation of development plans and programs with which affect them. How far do you think this government has gone in regards to ensuring that people play a specific role towards their development?
That is one of the failings of this government. The late Elia Kategaya, who was always believed to be the heir apparent to Museveni, and I, as Minister of Commerce, once wrote a paper and he sent it to the president, saying that committees like those committees which negotiate trade agreements or determine the distribution of land should be multidisciplinary and should have experts on them, such as physical planners, lawyers, and economists. We thought that would help very much. If that committee had been put in place, the people who have disgraced us getting a lot of money when they are not qualified to have it would not have come about. So a committee working as one unit does really do a good work and supervises the projects it is getting. But if you entrust this thing to one man, he doesn't understand what is going on. I recently sent my publications, which you have reviewed at one time, to President Museveni. And my vehicle arrived at the Nakasero State House. I don't think Museveni had anything to do with it. But a young army officer, a younger officer at the gate, refused to receive those books, claiming that he knows the author. Professor Kanyeihamba is a subversive man. And yet when I was sick recently, the president heard about it and sent his own personal physician to rescue me. That is the kind of, shall I say, contradictions we are governed under today in Uganda. So what you are saying is absolutely right, that the Constitution, the laws of Uganda provide for provision, supervision of development of funds, but the way we are governed, nothing of the kind happens.
Still, under in regards to development, your preamble, because it's you people that made it, the first one here was the role of people. Now there is the role of government. In particular, you went ahead to say that the state shall give the highest priority to enactment of legislation, establishing measures that protect and enhance the right of people to equal opportunities in development. Do we have equal opportunities for all?
We don't have equal opportunities for all. People who have opportunities and free choices are actually foreigners. You will recall,
Aren't you sounding not sectarian?
pardon?
And won't you sound sectarian? Now you want to.
I want to sound sectarian on this occasion. Everybody who knows me knows I'm married to a European. My children are half English
And half Bachig.
and half Bachiga. I have a daughter adopted who is a Muganda. And when I was a minister entitled to policemen, I never asked what tribe are you or where are you from. They were all foreigners from Arua, from Teso. So everybody who knows me knows I'm not a sectarian for goodness sake, but I speak as I can. I am also proud to be where I come from.
You're proud Muchigan, you're proud Ugandan.
That's right. So having said that, when I see
Opportunity are
this
given
government
foreigners.
seems to favor foreigners, it is true. Let me tell you, I am very well known and respected in UNRWA. But one time I went there, I don't know whether by coincidence, all the people who are waiting to discuss their own respective contracts were Chinese.
Maybe it's because they have expertise in constructing roads, and perhaps that's what makes them be in UNRWA, Uganda National Roads Authority.
You mean
Maybe.
Ugandans, we don't have people who are qualified?
That's a question to your former friend. Okay, to your friend, actually, President Museveni, now to Haburu. Because what else do I say?
By the way, I am writing a book now. I am halfway. And I hope you review the copy. It's called H.E. Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. I have known his shadow,
Haburu.
Tibuhaburwa, and I. I think many people will be very interested to know what that book says about our whole system and our relationship. If you see there, I am with Museveni at State House. He's holding my children in his arm. There is another one where the photograph made in such a way that I am holding Museveni on his heart. That is how we are. But at the same time,
How they favor foreigners.
when mustard seed came, Chamunyogonya, who was editing it, sent to me, there is not a single page where the name Kanyeihamba appears. Then she said, Museveni was not aiming at you. I said, but there are so many other people who were called, and he doesn't seem to have minded mentioning them. Then she said, we are going to have a second edition. The one I think which you read and wrote your book, Unmasking Mustard Seed. And I read that again. I am not there either. So, but Museveni is on record as having said, the reason I trust Asian in Uganda is because one Asian, I think it was Madivani, does more contribution to our economy than 100 of a chica. So when you come to the people he has, for him, there is no expert or anyone in Uganda whom we can trust. A few years ago, he sent one of his children to be treated in Germany. And when the media asked him, "You mean we don't have
Hospitals.
Uganda doctors here?" He said, "I don't trust Ugandan doctors." Several times, he or his family have gone abroad to seek advice. When one of his favorite generals got sick, he was rushed to Nairobi, where he perished through natural causes. So, how can a president of a country state publicly
He doesn't trust
that I don't trust
Ugandan medics.
any of my experts? Even I, who really is the architect of the Uganda Constitution, has never given me credit. When he came to parts he doesn't agree with, he didn't blame the CA.
No, he blamed
He
the
blamed rather Dr. Odochi as the culprit. Rather, doctor, we gave him ideas and he ignored them. President Museveni, where were you when we were making this constitution? Odochi was not even a member of the CA. The committee was composed not only of him, but Kaira, Matembe, some soldier, and they are the ones who made proposals, many of which we rejected because we initiated our own in the CA. And it is Wakabulo, James Wakabulo, who is credited with having done a good job, and Kanyeihamba, and Eddie Karuhanga. The Navidi, rather, Father Gaitan was there,
Father Gaitan.
Professor Simbandi, but he ignores all those and says it was. Sometimes I want to cry.
So what brings
that it was Odochi who messed up the constitution.
So what brings about such imbalances? Because you said that when you went to UNRWA, most of the people there at the reception, either waiting for the big wings within, were to
Chinese.
you. They looked like they were Chinese.
They were Chinese.
So what makes
I can't mistake Chinese for an Indian or
to a Japanese
or a Ugandan or a white man.
What makes the president or even such institutions have trust in foreigners than indigenous people?
Let me tell you. Recently, the Supreme Court of Uganda said Sudhir should hand over all the shares of the commercial bank, the Bank of Uganda illegally handed over to him after the bank had faulted banks like Kigezi Bank of Commerce, is it Tefa Bank of Uganda?
I think it's Tefa, yeah.
Yes. That judgment is there. The Supreme Court has said they should return our shares. I even gave this in a document to the judges that this is what you decided. I am currently carrying out an inquiry, rather a campaign, even publicizing, that all the former shareholders of the Kigezi Bank of Commerce, who were Gombora chiefs, Saza chiefs, diocese representatives, both Catholics and Protestants, should meet, and we have our Bank of Commerce back and our building, which is the illegally seized and sold. But Museveni is right. Nobody is following it up. This was mentioned Professor Ezra Suluma, now Chancellor of Kampala. I thought by now he would exactly have called me. What is it you are talking about? He's keeping quiet. Now,
So this move is
you can see why Museveni, after that judgment, it was immediately announced that Sudir has got a partnership with the government of Uganda in some business.
So he's more or less untouchable, for lack of another word.
And he delivers.
Okay,
But that is not to say that Ugandans don't deliver.
there are some that deliver.
If you look at that supermarket on Najana Nkumbi, it is owned by a Ugandan and it is as vibrant as any. If you look at the complex of hotels beyond there, they belong to Ugandans and they attract many foreigners as any other bank. If you look at the empire left by the last king, I forget what his name is as good as any. So the fact that the President Museveni prefers some foreigners, they are Ugandans who even perform better.
Okay. Roman 2, in regards to the role of state in development, you people said that the state shall stimulate agriculture, and I want to repeat for emphasis, agriculture, industrial, technological, and scientific.
You said what?
Not they, you say you people when you were adopting this constitution, Roman 2, that the state shall stimulate agriculture, industrial, technological, and scientific development by adopting appropriate policies and the enactment of enabling legislation. Look at the agricultural sector with its budget.
The saddest thing that has happened to our agriculture is here okay. It's producing massive food. But the food it is producing is detestable. It's like you are eating cow's dung. Why? Because we argued when we were still in the government that we should not allow American seeds, which are
the non-GMO, genetically modified.
That's right.
You mean even when you were still in government, then that proposal had come already?
We did, and President Museveni agreed with us. So we keep our own
indigenous seeds
for two reasons. One, we were used to the taste of our own seeds and the food. They are tastier. You can ask the market people at Kansanga. I no longer buy beans or peas from them because they are scientifically modified. Apparently they grow very quickly, and the quicker they grow, the tastier they become. I think you can quote that. The
faster they grow.
Yes, the quicker. No, what is the word I use?
Use the quicker they grow.
The quicker they grow,
and the tastier they become.
The tastier they become. I have often to pray to the people of Kabale, including my relatives, to bring me potatoes and peas and greens, which are not scientifically modified. how this came about when Museveni himself was against it, I think it should be questioned. How did this come? I wish in one area, the west of here, we would go back to our original seeds. Then we would eat decent food, and then we would also become richer because every Ugandan would be
Healthy
eating
and-
food from the west.
But I want to ask you something, Justice Kanyeihamba.
Yes.
15 years ago in my A-level, we studied a theory, and that is Malthusian's theory, where this theorist said that given the multiplication of the population of human beings, we cannot match the production of food. And for that case, I definitely thought that I'm in support of these scientists with their GMOs. If you give your indigenous cowpeas that will take, let's say, 6 months to grow, vis-a-vis the numbers of people with how people produce one another every now and again, don't you think that is likely to have a bigger number of human beings vis-a-vis the production of food? And for that case,
You mean I think cows dung?
it
would grow big.
is the peas that grows in maybe 2 months or otherwise.
That is a red herring. A red herring means it's diversionary. They used to say when you see a big cow, or a big dog, oh, it's a European cow. It's until Museveni, our president, demystified why ours were
Small at the time.
chickens, goats.
They eat a lot and they never grow big.
No, because he decided to grow them by feeding them properly and looking after them properly. And the Ankole cows started producing the same amount of milk, the
Like
same
the-
amount of big meat.
Like the Frisians.
Yes. So it is a lack of treatment. If you keep Kanyeihamba unfed or fed with only mash, I don't eat beans because they are tasteless. I'll become very thinner
You'll be malnourished.
than a Norman who enjoys that mash.
So in your view, the agricultural sector has been mismanaged
Yes.
by...
Absolutely.
doesn't this connect with the budget allocated to the same sector? Because literally it's one of the...
No. That is a policy matter. It has nothing to do with the budget. Whoever decided to
The
introduce
GMOs.
those is responsible for making us starve. Part of my generation, I'm very old now, 83, even the younger ones, if you ask a 15-year-old who tasted our original food, they prefer our
Indigenous.
own grown food produced from our own seeds. You go to Nakasero market, you go to
Kansanga or-
Gawa market here. People ask first, do you have Rumonde coming from Kabale or from Kisoro? You know why.
Yeah, sure. Okay. And as we proceed towards, we have around 15 or so minutes. There is protection of natural resources. And you people went ahead to say that the state shall protect important natural resources, including, and that's where your area of interest is and expertise, including land, water, wetland, minerals, oil, fauna and flora on behalf of the people of Uganda. Let's go back to land. How has your government, the government you serve, would manage the land question?
It has mismanaged. Actually, the current minister
Of land.
of lands, Chiwanuka, has done his best. First of all, there is rampant corruption in land dealings rampant corruption. As I speak now, I think nearly 1,000 titles have been forged and issued to forgers and their clients who are equally guilty. The current Minister of Lands, Honorable Chiwanuka, and I thank him, he has cancelled nearly 1,000 titles, genuine titles offered or manufactured in Ruwero headquarters of the Land Registration Unit. My own title, I originally, you can really see what has happened, was in Busiro, Sirandamayo.
That's Wakiso district.
Yes. It was block 497. I remember it, I never forget it. 497, plot 397. I remember it because it had 777. Somebody stole part of it. And I took him to the then Commission of Lands, a lady from Pusoga, who herself was an expert forger, and they give you titles. I reported my case. Somebody had stolen my plot 397166. You can write it there. And whoever got it, he must return it to me. It was stolen. And the man who was deceived was called Msinguzi. Muhanguzi. He came to see me. I said, they have deceived you. I showed him my original. But he also had an original.
So there are two originals.
Yeah, 397.
From the same government,
266.
from the same ministry.
Yes. And he said, I'm going to do something about it. Then the forgers and the colloquial lawyer told him, no, since you have an original, you tell him that you are the owner. So he did that. That case is in the High Court. It's been there for 10 years. Nobody does anything. I am going to see the minister. I've been trying to see him, but he's been busy. And give him this information. Then, as I told you earlier, says Sasu, Dr. Engineer Sasu, stole my titles. Is it true that I leased him my 3 acres to make to give to the Chinese? They must have given
the
them
rocks
billions.
you're talking about.
Yes. And at the moment, he still has got my original titles.
But if I may ask Justice Kanyeihamba, if the people of your stature can be robbed,
Yes. And nothing happened to them.
And nothing happens to people, to the perpetrators. What about a commoner like me and others, for sure? Don't you have some
More
regrets?
of them have fallen victim of thefts. Because I didn't finish the story of Honorable Chiwanuka, the current Minister of Education. He has cancelled over 1,000 original titles, including mine.
In the favor of
But
the
the Nazi,
forgeries? In favor
he
of
has
the...
said all these were forged. So he has cancelled them. They are genuine, original titles, including mine. That's why I'm going to him.
I want you to close with these remarks here. Tumusime Kato asks you,
Before we close
there are questions that you could respond to, if you don't mind.
Oh.
If you don't mind, they are coming from our viewers.
Okay.
He asks that what inspired you to smuggle some of the provisions in the Constitution when you had all the time to debate and agree on which provisions you wished to be included in the 1995 Constitution. Are we wrong to say that you were not truthful in whatever you did in the process?
I don't know what he's asking that question.
What inspired you to smuggle?
That I would ask him, have you ever suffered from a cold? Once. Does it mean that you always suffer from a cold? I don't know. People ask questions which are not logical. Let me tell you, I have told you.
So you did it in good faith?
Nobody ever. You look at the draft of Odochi. You look at the debate, all of it. Nobody was aware that we needed somebody
Fountain of honor, for example,
to give honor.
Or
so when we finish it, we clap. Museveni, you younger person who have asked that question, you should also include Museveni. Does it mean that you are also stupid? Don't ask questions without knowing the consequences. Nobody had thought about it. At that time, I didn't know about it. But Kavuma discovered it.
That you need to
when he read through the Constitution, he said,
something
but who will award
such
what is it?
Either medals or
honor. Who? Because we
you
didn't
must have a
provide
fountain
it.
of honor to honor
Yes,
others.
yes. So that's why he came to my office. It would have been impracticable to call to debate an issue like that. It was just a recognition that the president, who is the head of state,
must have a specific title
and give the prerogative of mercy, should also be the one to give, to forgive people, rather to award people and his prerogative of mercy.
There is another.
It didn't need a debate.
There's another viewer here, Chiza Zex. He says, "Thanks a lot, Professor. But my issue is, was the process of formulating the Constitution a democratic one, or you had interferences from the imposed dictator? Did you ever find any concerns from the president during your process of making the Constitution?"
When we were making the Constitution, many politicians talked to us. Even in the CA, there were politicians, people like Cecilia Yogwa from the UPC. There were people from the Kanyeihamba original. There was the NRM. They asked us questions.
What were their specific issues?
The what?
What was too much? What was their issues at the time?
The one, let's say, talk about the one from the Federalists in Uganda and Ankole. They were asking that you must give more powers to our kings. They were born to be kings, not to be ceremonial. In Ankole, they were saying, restore our king, as you have done in other areas. The Bunyoro were asking us, recognize our king. Remember, there was a dispute about who should be king in Ankole. And so on and so forth. Museveni was saying, I want you, the land should belong to the government, not to local government. These are the questions they were asking.
The president had at first wanted that the land be owned by
government,
the same way Russia does and some Eastern European countries.
That's right.
How did you win him over that argument?
Well, you see, the guy that said, why did you do this? We were about, I can't remember the number of CA, but it was greater than Parliament.
Did you have him in the meeting and convinced him to drop the idea of owning
Yes, we would debate this. The idea of a president having 2 terms only, we debated it over 2 days. And we were unanimous, including even those that President Museveni had nominated. We were unanimous that the term of the president should be 2 years.
Each one of 5.
So going back to the questioner, these questioners who are now asking me privately, are the one who let us down. When Museveni decided to change the constitution to read his way, they kept quiet. But now they are asking Kanyeihamba because I don't have power to jail them.
Okay, Justice Kanyeihamba, I want to close with this in particular. Do you have some moment alone to reflect and say, I regret having worked with this gentleman that has now changed this country into...
I will answer that by
Especially with the
reference to
question.
the Bible. Do you remember a man called Judas Iscariot?
Yes.
Do you remember him? Who appointed him to be a very close friend of Jesus and his advisor on finances, I think.
Not certain.
Was Jesus, wasn't he? Didn't he betray Jesus?
So you are betrayed by your own, like
Yes,
Major Kazora, right?
I was betrayed by
my leader.
Museveni, whom I loved. I was betrayed like Jesus was betrayed by Judas Iscariot.
Next week, we are beginning with general social and economic objectives. May you say goodbye and your closing remarks until next week, sir.
Okay. I'll talk to you first as a member of cabinet, minister who advised on deals, but also as initially Minister of Commerce, who rescued this country from being insolvent. We talk about countries being insolvent, not bankrupt. Individuals become bankrupt, countries become insolvent, as we are now. The reason I'm saying Uganda is insolvent now is that our earnings far below our expenditure. That's why each of you, including the person who asked that question about me,
must pay 1.8 million.
that you are bankrupt, you are insolvent as a country, and you owe the world 1.8 million shillings. And your husband and your children, each of them owes that amount. Not
Which
you
money
alone.
is subject to making interest as well.
Yeah, plus.
May God bless all of us until next week, Wednesday. By God's grace, we shall be here with Justice Kanyeihamba to continue breaking this constitution. It's quite big, but it's worth breaking it down. May God bless you. See you next week. Saturday, we have Colonel Dr. Chiza Besige from 10 a.m. to midday. And definitely we have a voltage show on Friday at 7. We equally have Murangira Nachibinge on Friday as well. But our shows will keep on. Tomorrow we also have Diaspora Link and so many other programs as you have been following them on our social media handles. That's the Alternative Uganda Facebook and Digital TV and the Alternative Uganda on YouTube. Keep watching, keep following, sharing, send questions and comments. We'll keep this discussion on and we shall share the same when we return to Justice Kanyeihamba come next week, Wednesday. May God bless all of you for God in my country.
May he
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.